Right. All right. Looks like we've arrived. All right. All right. And we're live. Let's make sure everybody we can see we're on our channels. Let it let it go. I mean, I hear singing some Frozen right now. Let it go. Let it go out to the world.
How's it going today,
Social
Isaac?
media. Yeah,
How
I'm
you doing
looking
today?
good. Good.
Good.
How
We're in the
so?
home stretch.
Home stretch. We
Home.
right here. I'm trying to make sure. Yeah, I'm gonna use your highlight. Awesome. So as folks are coming in, how's your week been going, Eric? How's your week been going? I know we got the tax deadlines coming up next week. So how's your week been going? Has it been pretty busy? Are you taking some more clients? Can they still squeeze in? Or you completely fully booked? Or what's that
So
looking?
we are absolutely completely booked till Tuesday. I don't think I have any appointments, any free slots for Monday. We do have some slots open for Tuesday and Wednesday. I do have, as always, we always have clients who are very last minute. So they'll send me their stuff, and so we're after hours. We're doing the returns and stuff like that, and then doing phone calls to wrap up the returns and stuff like that. I'm not. We really don't have any slots open to kind of meet people, stuff like that. A lot of people who we're meeting now, which we're going to talk about here in a second, are calling to kind of do some consultation, and then we're doing a bunch of extensions as well. So it'll probably be a lot of that on Tuesday and Wednesday of a lot of clients calling to set up extensions and stuff like that. So usually, like I said, we kind of slow down till about May. Well, maybe like that week after April, then like towards the end of April and stuff like that. Then people will call and they'll say, now that you've slowed down, can we go ahead and do the return? People have already even started setting up appointments. They just wanted to make sure they do their extension so they don't have to worry about April 15th. But we already have appointments like the week after and like the first week of May and everything before I go on vacation and stuff like that.
Yeah, and
It's
those are
definitely not like it is this week. It definitely slows down, but um, it's pretty much all season long. Like I said, it's not like where you just have a certain type of client who they got to get it done by February to get all that money and stuff like that. Most of my clients now are like business owners, people who know they're going to owe money and stuff like that. People who are waiting for a lot of like 1099Bs and stuff like that for some reason come in late. We always talk about a lot of people who are in partnerships, stuff like that. They get their K1s late. I have a bunch of clients. We're just waiting on certain K1s from different partnerships and stuff like that. We're completely done with their returns, but we're just trying to wait on those to see if we get them by April 15th, or otherwise we'll have to file extensions and stuff like that. So,
okay.
so
Okay.
it's a whole big thing. And a whole bunch of people are dropping off boxes because we do bookkeeping and stuff as well. So set the we've already set the extensions and stuff for those people. And so, like I said, like in May and stuff, when I get back, we'll do like a bunch of bookkeeping for those clients and stuff like that to get their returns turned in. So we're busy all the time. Yeah,
Busy, busy, busy.
correct.
That's what I'm talking about. That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. I need to actually set up an appointment because I know those who got franchise tax, right?
Correct. We're going to talk about that too.
Yeah, franchise tax. And if you have a nonprofit, you got to fill out that 990.
Yeah,
right?
that's due. Yeah, I don't
May,
even
right?
really
That's
think about
May.
that. Yeah, yep. The 990s are due by May 15th. So yeah, I gotta make sure I take care of all of those before I go on vacation or do the
Yeah.
extensions as well on those. So yep, you're correct.
Oh, nice, nice. So what are we
Mhm.
talking about today, sir? Looks like today's topic. A, it's April, right? It's tax season. And April is where people quietly lose money and don't even realize it until months later, right? Leaving money on the table. Not because they didn't make money. I know you got some clients that have been making money, but because they didn't understand how the system actually works. So I guess tonight, Eric, we're going to be breaking down April, that money trap, right? What's about to cost you that money? What most people get wrong? How to avoid uh, paying taxes, or so I said, paying the IRS more than you have to. Let's say that.
Correct.
So yeah, let's get into this, Eric. Go ahead, take it away.
So now that we're talking about that, one of the biggest things a lot of people do not understand, believe it or not, is I have a lot of people who, like I said, they'll call and they'll just want to file an extension, but they don't add money. They don't add money when they do their extension. They just file an extension. And so one of the things that we talk about is when you file an extension, but you do not make an estimated payment with the extension, when you go and let's say you do that and then you file your return in September and you owe money, the IRS is going to charge you interest from April 15th on that money. A lot of people believe that if you file an extension, it gives you the ability to not pay taxes until then. But all that does is keeps you from, getting the failure to file fee and all that stuff, those type of penalties and stuff. But you can still end up paying interest if you end up owing money. So even like myself, as busy as I am, I really don't file my returns until around August or September. So on the 15th, when I file my extension, I'm going to make an estimated payment. So I always do that every year to make sure that I don't have to pay the extra interest on that for um, filing an extension, but not making a payment.
Okay. Okay.
Another thing that people need to watch out for, even if you're W-2, there's a possibility if you owe taxes at the end of the year, the IRS charges you a penalty for is underreporting the right word to use? You're not taking enough taxes out, especially for business owners. Business owners who do not make estimated payments throughout the year, if you owe taxes at the end of the year, there's a penalty that you can end up paying on your taxes. A lot of people don't know that because all they see is the total. There's an actual line on your tax return where it shows the amount that you owe. Right next to it shows the amount of interest or penalty that you pay if you don't make estimated payments. So a lot of times when we have that conversation about if I own a business and especially if I don't pay taxes throughout the year and I know I'm going to end up paying taxes, you're going to end up having to pay extra. So again, that's extra money to the IRS, the penalties and interest that you pay instead of just getting the coupons or going online and making payments. And usually the first quarter is due around April for the first quarter for January, February, and March. So a lot of people don't do that. So that's
Mm,
another way that you can end up owing money to the IRS that you if you would just stay on top of making your estimated payments. Um, we talk and joke a lot about these people who are filing bankruptcy and stuff like that because they're not doing the 941s, they're not doing the sales tax and stuff like that. Again, anybody who knows what your 941 is, the 941 is the money that is sent into the IRS every quarter to pay for employee payroll. Most places, especially if you make over a certain amount of money, that's another way you can end up owing paying taxes that you don't need to pay. If you have over $2,500 in taxes, you are supposed to pay monthly, not quarterly. You're supposed to make monthly deposits on your 941s instead of waiting until the end of the quarter to send in your 941 with your payments. So the few clients who I do help do payroll, we go to it's called the EFTPS. You go onto that website and you file your 940, you file your deposits on your 941s on a monthly basis. And those are due by the 14th of every month. And again, a lot of clients don't do that. And so when you go to the quarter and you try to send in your 941 at the end of the quarter, you can get a letter from, again, the IRS saying that you owe a penalty or you owe interest because you're supposed to be paying those on a monthly basis instead of a quarterly basis. Again, these are little things that people don't understand until you actually get the letter from the IRS. Same thing if you're supposed to be doing unemployment. You're supposed to file that every quarter. And if you don't file that on time, then again, you'll get a letter
Wow.
from unemployment. You can, even if you can get a letter from unemployment again saying that you owe a penalty for filing that late and things like that. It's
Didn't know
things that
that.
you truly need to, again, I understand, most people when you own a business, you're so focused on your business, selling your product, doing all those type of things, but it's the little things like that that you'll get all these letters and stuff like that where they're basically, you can say they're nickel and diming you, but usually it's because you're not paying these things on time. And so you really need to be on top of it. You need to, if you're not going to be on top of it, you need to really invest in Gusto, ADP, QuickBooks or whatever for them to take care of it because they'll take care of it and make sure that it's done on a monthly and a quarterly basis. But there are a lot of people who own businesses who want to try to save money and stuff like that and do it on their own. But if you're not up on it, it could cost you way more money than you just letting one of those places take care of it for you. So, and when we talk about the part about making sure that you're doing your books, checking your profit and loss statement and stuff like that, instead of waiting until the end of the year, again, that's how you could know, hey, if I'm profitable, I need to be making estimated payments. So I don't have this, number one, so I don't have this huge tax bill at the end of the year, number one. And then number two, like I just said, you can end up paying penalties and interest on that as well. So
Wow.
again, this is things that people don't know or realize, especially when you first start your business. It's when, like I said, when you have a business and it starts making money and stuff like that. Again, a lot of people don't even realize that. You know what I'm talking about the penalty on your 1040. Just look right next to where it says the amount that you owe. Right next to it, it shows what you're paying in penalties for. Again,
Wow.
I don't want to say underreporting, but you're not paying enough taxes throughout the year. So you end up owing. So then they charge you a small penalty for that.
Wow. So you can basically get charged a penalty for not doing quarter, but you don't have to
Yeah.
do it quarterly, right?
No, I
Or
tell people all the time,
okay,
no,
but you can do it at the end of the year, but why would you get why do you have to do that and why are they penalizing you for doing something? I was like, I just do it at the end of the year. Why
correct.
are you telling me to do it every quarterly, every
Because the
quarter?
IRS wants their money. Yeah, basically they want the money. But
Oh,
even with
okay.
a lot of people when we first start out, again, like we've done videos before when we talk about taxes, you can have a business that's profitable, but you still don't owe taxes at the end of the year. If you have kids, so you're getting child tax credits, depending on how profitable your business is, you can end up getting earned income credits. You could have a W-2 job where you're taking out enough taxes in your job to cover your taxes. You can be married, your spouse could be taking out enough money in their taxes in order for it to cover the tax bill for your business if your business is profitable. Obviously, if your business isn't profitable, you're not going to owe any taxes. So again, it's not just as cut and dry as saying, hey, my business is profitable, so I'm going to owe taxes at the end of the year. Again, like I said, there are so many other factors that you have to weigh in before you actually say, hey, I'm going to owe all this money in taxes at the end of the year. You can have a tax liability, but when you factor in credits, earned income credit, education, things like that, all that stuff can offset your tax liability to where you can still end up getting a tax return. So, and again, most people don't know that. Most people just say, hey, I'm just going to handle it at the end of the year. And then speaking on that, even a person who's W-2 or whatever, when we have the conversation about changing your W-4, um, so you don't owe taxes at the end of the year, and then they say they don't want to do that, but then they say, okay, I'm going to go into a payment plan, And then what happens when you go into a payment plan? Like any payment plan, I pay
You,
interest, right?
you got to pay interest on that payment plan,
So
right?
again,
Yeah.
there you go. So again, now I'm paying money to the IRS that I didn't need to pay if I was just taking the money out of my W-2 throughout the year,
Wow.
so I didn't owe tax.
Okay.
But again, most people when they come in here and they owe taxes, a lot of people go ahead and pay it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people will set up for it to be paid by the 15th and stuff like that.
Right.
But there are
Right.
quite a few people who say, "Hey, how do I set up a payment plan?" When they owe taxes, they say, "Hey,
Wow.
how do I owe?" And then they say, I'm going to pay interest on it. Yeah, you're going to pay interest on it. So again, that's another way that you could end up paying more for your taxes than if you just planned, um, you know, changing your W-4, putting money into retirement plans, all type of different things to help you bring your AGI and your taxable income down, so you don't end up owing all these taxes. But again, it's all about tax planning instead of just doing what's going on, Cedric. Instead of just showing up and getting your taxes done, and then we have the conversation about, hey, you need to change your W-4. Um, Not just claiming zero. We had a video a couple weeks ago about the brackets.
Yeah.
There are plenty of people who come in here who make a substantial amount of money, and they say, I'm claiming zero. But like I try to explain to them, if you alone or you and your spouse make over a certain amount of money, it pushes you up in the bracket. So you just claiming zero is not enough for you to not owe taxes at the end of the year. So we see it time and time again. But again, it's all about tax planning. It's all about understanding how taxes work and things like that. Again, it's not about you coming in here and me creating a business and writing 30,000, $50,000 off to get you these huge returns. If you want to be legitimate, then you should know and understand how your brackets work. You need to understand how what your AGI does, what your taxable income does. You need to understand how all those things work. It's like when you see people who say, "Hey, I'm going to take money out of my IRA," or the big thing people do now is they're moving stuff from their traditional to their Roth, and they don't understand that you just paying the taxes from you moving it from your traditional to your Roth, that can end up not being enough, depending on if that pushes you up in the brackets like we talked about a couple of weeks ago. So again, these are things that end up in April that make you end up paying money that you don't need to have no that you don't need to have to pay if you were doing more tax planning throughout the year. Even if,
Oh,
like, when people say, "But if I change my W-4, then how do I pay my bills throughout the month?" But then I set up a payment plan, right? So now I have a whole new bill. I have a whole new expense that now I have to pay. So now this is an expense that I'm having to pay every month because I didn't change my W-4. So it's all about how
wow.
you wanna do it. It's all about how you wanna pay it.
So
Again,
with
like I
like,
said, and I hate to say your taxes are your taxes because somebody will prove me wrong because again, then they'll scam and do this nonsense with the businesses and all that, which we're gonna get into. They'll do all that nonsense in order to get you these huge returns. And when we talk about having to pay more on your taxes, we're gonna talk about that. But
yeah,
that's what it's more about understanding. As you make more and more money, you really need to sit down with somebody who really knows what they're doing from a tax standpoint instead of somebody who's just says they do taxes, to understand, hey, these are the brackets. So like you see, I show my clients the bracket. We just go into the IRS website and I show them, if you guys make this amount of money, this portion of your money is going to be taxed at this tax rate. So you need to understand that you might need to take out more on your paycheck. You might have to take out an extra $100. You might have to take out an extra $200 instead of, and even people who say, well, okay, I'm going to claim zero, but we have two kids, so I'm going to claim two. No, if you guys make over a certain amount of money, you both need to claim zero. And they say, I don't understand because that's going to eat up your child tax credit. You paying at a higher tax rate is going to eat up those child tax credits. So people get upset when they're like, "How on earth can we owe money? We have kids, we're getting the child
yeah.
tax credit, stuff like that." But again, because you're being pushed up in these brackets, a certain amount of your money is going to be taxed at a much higher tax rate than the regular 10 to 15% that's being taken out if you're claiming zero, because that's all they're taking out is 10 to 15% if you claim zero. So
Wow. Would charitable giving, when it comes to like tax planning, would that be something that would be an option? If you didn't change a W-4 or whatever, like some people give like their 10% to like the church or their faith or whatever, community or organization that they believe in. Like I know there's a certain percentage. Would that offset something too, or no?
So again, that depends because again, a lot of people believe it's like it's like a lot of people come in here and they'll say, "Oh, I forgot my 1098." Do you know what a 1098 is? You know what a 1098 is, right?
Yes, your gift giving stuff,
No,
right?
1098 for your house, your mortgage interest.
Oh yeah, for your house, that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if I'm married and it's 31.5, I believe, is the standard deduction. And so people come in with their 1098 and say I paid like 6 grand in mortgage interest and another 6 grand in property taxes. So that's 12 grand. But the standard deduction is 31.5, right? So I don't need your home. We don't need your home. Correct. We don't need to file your 1090. We don't need to do a Schedule A, right? Because you're going to get the standard deduction instead. So, in the same regard, when people do that, I say, "Hey, do you have any tithes or stuff like that?" But then I'll look and I'm like, "Hey, you need to have like 15, $20,000 in donations and stuff like that for your itemized deductions to be more than your standard deduction." So to answer your
Mm.
question, you're right. If I'm already paying a whole lot in mortgage interest, I'm already paying a whole lot in property taxes. And then you're right. My gifts to charity, my goodwill, and all that stuff, that can push me over the standard deduction. But a lot of times, people who say, "Oh, I'm giving 10%, I'm giving a certain amount," it's still not going to be enough for you to be able to itemize as opposed to doing the standard deduction. So
Wow, wow. Oh, that's the trick right there. You got to know what you're doing.
So it's
You got to
sad,
know
like
what you.
back in the day before the 2018 changes, it was the discussion of, do I need to pay my house off because it's a tax write-off? For most people, it's really and truly not. They bring their
Mm.
1090, they bring their 1098s in, I put it in, but again, when we go over your return, I show you, you're still just getting the standard deduction. But back in the day, people, when the standard deduction was like 6 grand or something like that, and then you got a deduction, you got an individual deduction for each person before the change when they raised the standard deduction up to what they raised it now. So most people do not itemize. They can't itemize. Same thing when people bring in medical. You understand how that works, right?
A little bit on how that
Anything
works. Yeah.
over 7.5% of your income. So say I make $100,000 and I have medical bills and I have $10,000 worth of medical bills. Anything over 7.5% of the 100, so 7,500. So I can only write off 2,500 if I have $10,000 in expenses. Yeah, you can't write off the whole 10,000. Anything that's over 7.5% of your income. That's why
So
it's
like,
so. Oh, we're getting ready to do it.
so
So
I
that's
got $200,000 because I had, whatever thing, Lord, I ain't gonna say whatever that be will be. Sometimes it's very expensive.
correct.
$200,000. But if you made $50,000, for your salary, then like, but you had all these bills and like you still have to make payments on this, right?
Correct.
So none of that stuff will count towards that if I have to, you know.
And this is how people get audited because, okay, we'll do it. I have not seen one this year, but what people will do is they'll go to your Schedule A and say you make $30,000, $40,000 a year. They'll say you have $70,000 worth of medical expenses. 7.5% of the 30, 40,000, anything over that is now on your Schedule A. You don't even need a home. You don't even need property tax, mortgage interest, anything like that. Your medical is going to be enough, right? For you to itemize as opposed to standard deduction. But when the IRS says, okay, I'm gonna need you to show me the $70,000 in medical expenses. Obviously, you don't have that.
Yeah.
But that's what these tax preparers that are doing to help people bring their taxable income down. We've had this discussion before, right? I gotta have an AGI in order to get the earned income credit. But
Yeah.
then I mess with my standard deduction to bring my taxable income down so I don't
Yeah.
pay any federal. But I gotta have an AGI, right? So I gotta show some type of AGI in order to get the earned income credit. But so instead, they'll leave that alone and then they will do that on your schedule A in order to bring your taxable income down so you don't pay any federal. And again, it wouldn't be so bad, but when people get audited, they get audited over stupid stuff like that. I make $30,000, $40,000 a year, but I have $70,000 worth of medical expenses. Or I make $50,000, $60,000, 50, 60, $70,000, but I have a business that I'm taking a $40,000 loss on every year. And you dumbasses think that that makes sense when you're filing these returns for people to get these huge returns. And then everybody looks stupid when you get called by the IRS and the IRS says, who in their right mind would have a business 2, 3, 4 years taking a $40,000 loss every year and you only make $40,000, $50,000 a year? I'm sorry, you got to make more than that because you got to show, depending on how many kids you have to show, $20,000, $30,000. But again, you show a business that's taking these huge, huge losses. So how long would somebody sustain a business like that? And so to stay on topic of what we're talking about, when you say how can this cost you money, it's when you get audited, you got to pay all that money back with the penalties and the interest, and you can end up paying underfiling fees, all type of fees for you doing this just because you got a huge return. But then when you get caught, you got to pay all that back with penalties, interest, underfiling fees, all of that stuff. So it ends up costing you way more money, right?
Yeah.
And guess what the best part is? The person who charged you thousands and thousands of dollars to do it, they won't pick the phone up. So now not only do you have to pay the IRS back all this money, you lost the money that you paid that person.
Wow. Wow. It's interesting what you said because doing what you just said, like if folks do that is like so basically people when they file or don't file, shall I say, and then they're filing extensions or whatever the case may be, people think that they are like buying time, but in
Correct.
reality, they're just delaying the damage, right? Is
Correct.
that okay?
But a
Like
lot of
it's
people
coming, but what it is that you're getting all these hits when you go in and try to feel like you can buy some more time to
correct.
be able to do this when it's actually gonna be a big wave coming to hit you, right?
But in
So,
all fairness, there are plenty of people who file extensions, and when we file, they don't know. So again, it doesn't
um,
matter because again, they're obviously you don't pay interest on money the IRS owes you. There are people who haven't filed for years, and when we file their returns, they're getting a return. So that's just on you that you didn't file the return. But again, somebody who, even if you file an extension, if I don't file the return within the extension, and let's say somebody comes in here today, which happens, and they say, "Hey, I have to file 24 and 25," and you tell them if you're going to owe in 24, they're going to charge you interest for all the way back to April of 24. They're going to charge you under filing fees. They're going to charge you all of that. So when you hear people say, even if you know you're going to owe, you need to file. You need to file, so you don't have to pay all of the under filing fees and all that stuff. You're going to get letters and stuff every couple of months or whatever talking about the interest that you owe on it, but at least you don't have to pay all the under filing fees and stuff like that. And you can go ahead and get started on the payment plan to do that. But a lot of people don't file taxes for 2 or 3 years just because they want to avoid paying taxes. And again, it can end up costing you way more money by doing that instead of just filing your taxes and just
which
taking the hit
one
on it.
which one hurts more, the penalty or the interest?
So to me, it's more of the penalty because
Mm,
again, if I know I owe and I'm on a payment plan to pay it back, that's interest. The penalty part is just like I said, I'm paying a penalty because I didn't file.
mm,
That's crazy. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to get an under filing fee or failure to file fees, penalties, and like that if I file the return. I filed the return. I'm just having to pay the interest. But if I don't file, then I'm having to pay all of that. So that's kind of crazy. But
Because it's illegal to not file, right?
not by some of the videos I heard. I heard it's illegal. I
Because
heard
I thought it was, well, it was illegal to file, but then like if you don't set up a payment plan or whatever the case may be, that's a different story. But it's
yeah,
like they wanted you to file. I thought that was
they
something
want
like
you to
that, but
file.
I wasn't
Right.
sure.
Yeah, they want you to.
Because they'll come find their money at the end of the
Oh yeah, they're
day,
going to
right?
garnish your paycheck. They're going to
So
see the
I
bank
was like,
account.
well,
They're going to do all of that. So
yeah.
it's really up to you. Even in many cases, especially if you own a business and somebody is 1099 in you,
Mhm.
the IRS will just do your return, and you don't want that. So say I have a business and I have $200,000 in 1099s as a contractor, um, and I don't file my returns, the IRS can just go ahead and file your return, and they're going to charge you the whole amount. They're not going to write anything off or anything like that. They're going to charge
Ooh.
you federal and self-employment on the whole 200,000. And then that's when people come in here and say, "Hey, I need to file a return because the IRS filed my return and said I owe all this money." And I'm like, "Yeah, they didn't write anything off or anything, right?" And they're like, "No, they just said, hey, you have all these 1099s." So they just added all the 1099s up and just charged you. Same thing when we talk about sales tax and stuff like that. A lot of times people will come in here and they'll say, I have this huge sales tax bill because they estimate it. Instead of you just filing it, they'll estimate it and then say you owe that amount.
Mm.
Same thing like back in the day. I don't really see it that much. We're going to get to the franchise tax. They used to send people a $1,200 bill if you didn't file your sales tax. So people would be freaking out. They would be like, they say I owe $1,200 on
I
my,
got
on my
that.
franchise tax. Yeah, we don't make money, right? I'm
I
gonna say
got that.
no. I'm saying no. Just go in there and file it. It's just $50.
I got that. I was
Yeah,
freaking out. I was like, "Wow,
yeah,
what's
it's
going
just $50.
on?"
Right? All you have to do is just pay the late fee. Just
Yeah,
file it and then pay the late fee. But again, that's to get your attention.
it got my attention for
So
sure, for sure. Because it makes it look like it's so official, like you're gonna go to jail. So it looks like, oh crap, what did I do? And so now you're like, it kind of
now
ruins
you're
your whole
freaking
day
out.
right there.
So when people call, I'm like, nope, just go in there and file it. They don't even charge the $50 late fee here the last 2 or 3 years. They don't even charge that anymore. They just, you just get the letter saying, hey, if you don't file it, you can have your LLC revoked.
Revoked or
I
whatever.
see
Yeah.
that a lot. Well, they'll try to do something and they're like, Eric, they say my LLC is revoked. And we go into the comptroller website and it says, yep, it's inactive. And then I say, have you been filing your franchise tax report? And they say, nope. And a lot of people say, what is that? And I say, well, your registered agent is supposed to send that to you. If you're your own registered agent, then you're supposed to get that letter. If not, your registered agent is supposed to send that to you. Well, they hold it. They collect your mail. Because I've heard that they collect your mail, but they actually charge you an extra fee to actually send you your mail. So they're just collecting your mail for you. You pay a certain amount of money every year for them to collect your mail, but then you got to pay another certain amount for them to send you your mail. And then you got to pay another amount for them to actually file the franchise tax for you,
Mm.
which again, as you
So
see, can just be money adding up for nothing because you've done your franchise tax report before. So
yeah,
you know how easy
yeah,
that is to do it. But
yeah.
so
So could you give the rundown of what the upcoming dates are as far as like, we got the tax, the file, the extension, you got the franchise tax, you got all these different things coming up. Could you just kind of briefly kind of explain those dates and what's happening?
okay, so for April for the quarter, um, I know we talked about doing the deposits and everything like for your 941, and depending on how it's set up at the comptroller, some people have to pay um, the comptroller every month. Some people have to. I'm not the comptroller. I'm sorry. Yeah, for their sales tax, they have to pay it every month. Some people they make so little that they say you just pay it annually. But otherwise, if you have to pay that quarterly, your your sales tax is due by the 20th of April. your franchise, I'm not your franchise tax, your 941s are due by the 15th, and your unemployment is due by the end of the month. You have to file those for the quarter by the end of the month. You can make your estimated payments. Those are due April 15th if you're a business owner or you're personal. And make sure, even if you are an S corp, a partnership, or anything like that, I get this question all the time: do I pay taxes to my business with my business or my personal? Meaning, do I pay taxes to the 1065, the 1120s, or do I pay it to me personally? Everything goes to you personally, because if you have these type of businesses, you know that the K1s from the 1120s, the K1s from the 1065, those go onto your personal return. So you are paying taxes personally. So when you go online or send in the coupons or whatever to make those payments, make sure you're doing your social, not your EIN number. I've seen that happen a whole lot of times where people made the payment and then they're telling the IRS that they made the payment, and the IRS says we do not show your payment because you paid it through your EIN number and not your social security. So make sure that when you make estimated payments like that, that you're doing it to your social security. Now, of course, when you are paying your 941s and stuff like that, the employee taxes and all that, that goes to your EIN. But all the other stuff goes to your social. And again, like I said, the sales tax is due by the 20th, your 941s are due by the 15th, and your unemployment is due by the end of the month. And then the franchise tax, I don't know other states. I just know Texas. I know for a fact that in Texas, your franchise tax is due by May 15th. And if you make less than $2.6 million, all it is an owner. It's just an owner report. So you
Yeah.
just go online and you just fill out the owner report, and that's it. And that's if you are a nonprofit, any type of LLC. So a single member LLC, a partnership, an S corp, nonprofit, all of those. If you are registered with the Secretary of State, you are registered with the comptroller. Everybody
Mm,
should know that when you register with the Secretary of State, they send your information to the comptroller, and then that's when you get the letters and stuff from the comptroller saying that you have to file the franchise tax. So I get that all the time. People say, I'm not a franchise. Why do I need to file the franchise tax? It's not what you think. It's
right.
just a report that you have to file, that whenever you register with the Secretary of State, they send your information to the comptroller, and then you have to file that report every year.
That's
So
good stuff. That's good stuff. So what is the like as far as like when you think about the I guess like the side hustle traps and different things that I know we talked about it earlier, but like what is like the biggest thing online, the write-offs, what are people getting wrong that's really kind of, getting themselves into a trap, and that you or something that you are experiencing in your work that you see. Yeah.
so for me, part of the craziest things I see all the time is somebody will go and they'll take a course, and they'll pay 5, 10, 15, $20,000 on the course. And when we're doing their return, they'll say, I was told I could write this off. In theory, you're true. It's true. You can write that off. But again, it's kind of crazy to me if somebody says, I paid $10,000 for this course and I put that on your Schedule C, and I say, okay, this is an expense to write off to bring the revenue down from your business. And I say, how much
Mm,
money has your business made? And guess what a lot
mm,
of people say?
what?
Nothing. So they'll come in, they'll have a whole bunch of expenses and stuff like that, but they have absolutely no revenue.
Mm,
So again, to me, that's kind of crazy that I'm spending all this money to learn how to do something that doesn't make me any money.
mm.
And so,
So
but a
it,
lot of people do it. A lot of people believe in it. A lot of people watch certain things and they get the belief that somebody's telling them that if you do this and do that, you're going to have a successful business. And they don't watch YouTube videos or anything like that. They actually go to courses and pay all this money for courses because they can write it off, which is fine. which is fine. You're right. It brings your taxes down or whatever if you're showing a negative business or whatever, because people have negative businesses and stuff like that. But to me, at the same time, how long can you sustain that?
Yeah.
That doesn't, to me, it kind of doesn't make sense if I continue to have a business every year that is costing me money. It's like, does that really make sense to you?
Yeah.
You'd be better off just doing nothing, right? If it's costing me money to do this every year.
Yeah.
But when you see people get excited about showing a business that is negative and stuff like that, it's like, I hope you have a job because how else are you paying your bills,
Yeah.
right? How am I paying my bills if I have a business that isn't making any money?
Is that something
Mhm.
you see with small businesses that they
Correct. Oh,
make?
yeah, like I said, when people
Okay.
first start, yeah, a lot of people are, again, so I'm not here knocking anybody with the business. A whole bunch of people come in here and they're like, "Hey, I had to buy this. I had to set up my LLC. I had to set up a website. I had to go buy a truck. I had to go do all these things." A lot of people have businesses when they first start. But again, to me, there are certain things that people buy when they first start their business that doesn't make a whole lot of sense,
I'm
you
trying
know?
to buy that G wagon straight
Yeah,
off the
there it
board.
is, stuff like that. Or they hear somebody say, "Hey, you can go buy that truck, you can go buy that for the 100,"
I do want that Denali truck though.
that you just showed me? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
no, I'm
Just
just saying, but no, you see people say, with the big bill and all that, everything you can write off, you can get 100% and all this and that, great. But again, does your business make the amount of money to be able to pay the note on that? Because again, it's not dollar for dollar.
yeah.
I think we've had this discussion. Don't
Mhm.
think, I'm not gonna keep saying TI, but again, it's not where I owe $100,000 in taxes. So if I go buy $100,000 car, I don't owe any taxes anymore. It does not work like that. I think we've said that and said that and said that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't understand why people are still buying courses and listening to people who are telling you that. That is not the truth. It's just
Right.
not. And even
Right.
if that was the case, I'm still making payments. I'm still having to pay for maintenance, all kinds of stuff like that on the car. So if the car isn't making me money, does it make sense for me to be buying the car just for the tax write-off? And it's not even the tax write-off that you think it is.
Yeah.
Like
You
the Dave
said
Ramsey
before.
video. Yeah, like the Dave Ramsey video.
Yeah. And
Like
people think that
you
the
said,
write-offs
yeah, and
are
that was
free,
again
like
because he
means
pushed
free
it hard.
money, right?
Yeah,
Like some people think like it's free money, and like, but explain that if you don't mind. Just like in general, it's like people think it's dollar for dollar. They think that
right,
it's completely like this is like a free car or a free thing that I get, or free vacation or free business thing that I'm gonna do, and it's like
right.
no, that's not what it is, and
Not
it
how it
really
works.
doesn't balance out like that the way you
Right.
think that it does if it's going to bring your AGI down, right?
Yeah.
So
It's like the Dave Ramsey video when the lady was talking and she was like, "We bought this truck," and he was like, "Why would you buy this truck? You don't make any money." And she's like, "For the tax write-off." And he was like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "We were told that you need to buy all this stuff to write it off on your taxes." And he's like, "Do you have a clue how taxes work?" And she just kind of sat there. And like you said, it's not dollar for dollar. Again, don't believe me if you don't want to, but just go on social media and look at credible people, not the people who are flexing on top of the Jeep, on top of the G Wagon, on that, who are flexing and jumping in and out of cars and telling you how this works. Listen to credible people who have licenses and degrees and stuff like that. They'll tell you, no, that is not how it works. But we believe that. And that woman really believed it. You saw the video. She
yeah,
really and truly believed it. And he was like, "That is not how taxes work." He was like, "Why would you do that? Why would you go buy a car that you can't afford because you believe it's a write-off? Why would you believe that?
yeah,
If you understand how tax brackets and stuff like that work, you're only gonna get a percentage. You're not going to be able
yeah.
to write off the whole amount." But
Mm.
I almost said their names. I almost said their name.
At what point, Eric, does like if we're trying to with business and maybe it's just a side hustle, right? That it becomes something that like the IRS will actually care about and actually do something. Like at what point does it is it the amount of revenue? At what point does it become, I got staff, as I got contracted staff, do I got employees, but it's still under 100,000 or something like that? Like, or is it over 100,000? Is there somewhere where my side hustle gets to a place where now what the IRS is gonna care about, or I need to start really taking some more intentional financial planning?
So sadly, I tell people all the time, it's kind of like shoplifting. If everybody goes and shoplifts, everybody's not going to get caught. So a lot of people go out here. So I get a lot of people who come in here. They weren't audited. They just came in and like, this just doesn't seem right. And we have the conversation and stuff. And it's like, yeah, this is what they did or whatever. And then everybody's freaking out and they're upset. They're like, am I going to get caught and stuff like that? And I usually tell people, if you're feeling like that, you need to be proactive. As crazy as that sounds, you need to go be proactive. You need to go to the IRS and say, hey, this person scammed on my taxes and stuff like that, because you don't want the other side, if they catch you and
Yeah,
you got to
if
go
they
in there
come, they looking for you, right?
they come looking for you, and you got to go in there with all these receipts and try to explain how you didn't know this person did this to you or whatever. But a lot of times, um, a lot of people don't know there's certain things like if you show everything with a zero at the end, that looks like it's made up numbers. If you have expenses that are absolutely outrageous compared to what you do, right? So, like, if I have a whole bunch of mileage and stuff like that, and I don't do anything where I got to drive around and stuff like that, people
Mm,
think the part on the car, but like people will tell you, if it's a car that makes no sense for what you do, as far as what your business is, you can get audited for stuff like that. I've actually seen people get letters where they don't say we're auditing you. They say you need to explain. Like I said with the medical, I've actually seen people get letters where they say we just need you to show us all this medical. Show us the $70,000 in medical. We're not auditing you for your whole return. You just need to show us the $70,000 in medical. And I've seen people get letters where they'll actually have lines and they'll say, you just need to show us the receipts that make up all of this, let's say, uh, office expenses, or you need to show us all these miles,
mm.
things like that, because you're showing expenses that are so out of whack compared to what your business is, that those type of things are red flagged. It's like people don't realize when you do your Schedule C, there's a code that actually shows what type of business you are. And at the IRS, they know by those codes what your expenses should be and pretty much what the percentages and stuff like that on your expenses should be. I'm out here giving game, as they say. A lot of people who just scam and do taxes, they don't know that. They don't know stuff like that. They just put huge expenses all over the place. But it's like that's what those codes are for. Like, like a real estate agent, they know real estate agent is going to have a whole lot of marketing, going to have a whole lot bunch of mileage, and they're
Bunch of
probably going to
mileage.
have a whole bunch of stuff for clients, gifts and stuff like that, because they're a real estate agent. So that's the expectation, because those are the things that real estate agents usually write off. So if you have that code as a real estate agent, they're expecting that. If I'm a truck driver, I'm going to have a whole bunch of mileage. I'm probably going to have a whole bunch of traveling, depending on, if I'm local or whatever. I'm going to have a bunch of meals and stuff like that. If I'm doing a bunch of traveling and stuff like that, I'm going to have those type of expenses. You have the code up there for it, that you're a truck driver. But again, people use my favorite, I see it all the time. The people who do not have legitimate businesses, they either put them down as consultants or event planners. Everybody's an event planner. Did you know that?
I'm
Everybody's
actually an event planner,
Yep.
Eric.
Everybody's an event planner. I don't understand the logic in that at all. But everybody's an event planner. And
Hey,
again,
if you organize people at the park, that's technically an event.
we're laughing and joking, but Isaac, this really destroys people. Because again, at the end of the day, it's one thing for me to go to the IRS with you and get some penalties removed. A lot of people know you can do an abatement. If everybody does not know what an abatement is, you can, like, if I owe a whole bunch of penalties and interest, the IRS lets people do a first time abatement. So say I, haven't didn't file my 2023 return and I have all these penalties and interest and stuff from that. A lot of times the IRS will just let you call up there and say, "Hey, I want to do a first time abatement." And they'll say, "Okay." So they'll remove the penalties and interest, but you still got to pay the money back. That's the problem. So say a person who wasn't expecting to get a return, they get a $9,000, $10,000 return. What do they do with it? They go and blow it, right? Most people will go and blow it because this is quote unquote free money, right? But if you think about it, it's not free money. You're just getting your money back, right? But again, they're thinking it's free money. So what do? They go and blow it. They go on vacation. They do all types of crazy things. They go put a down payment on a car and stuff like that. So then what happens when they get audited and the IRS owes them, asks them for the money back? You can't pay it back. You can't pay it back. So now you're worse off than if you had just done your return, even if you owed. You could have just gone on a payment plan and kept it moving, right? But because somebody did this, I'm not going to say you let somebody do this because a lot of people say they had no clue. But if somebody does this to you and everybody's running to that person because that person's the hookup, that person knows how to do taxes better than everybody else because they're doing this scam nonsense to get everybody these returns. And again, in your head, you're like, he doesn't know what he's talking about because I'm out here shoplifting. Point blank, period. I'm out here shoplifting and not getting caught. Because what you're doing is illegal. You're just shoplifting and not getting caught. But
Yeah.
when you get caught, then you're upset at the person who did it because you can't believe they did that to you, but you took that money. And so
Wow.
sadly, that's how you end up being worse off than if you just straight did your taxes, just minded your business. If you owe taxes, just pay them. If you get and that's the sad part. A lot of people, when we do the amendment for it, they were getting a return. They were getting a return,
Wow.
but that return wasn't big enough for them. And again, we won't talk about instead of somebody charging you a straight fee, like I charge a straight fee, depending on what it is. If it's a 1040, if you have a Schedule C, if you have a bunch of stocks, if you have, a partnership, if you have 1120S, those are completely different forms and different amounts and stuff like that. Instead of somebody who says, I'm I'm gonna charge you 10% of whatever I get you, we still fall for that. Like the PPP loan, like the EIDL loan, like the ERC, like the SBA loans, all that stuff. When people say, I'm going to charge you a percentage of what I get you, these people doing this nonsense about helping people getting credit. I'm going to charge you a percentage of what I get you. And we somehow think that's great that this person is getting you all of this, but they're charging you. Man, I wish I would give somebody $25,000 to fill out an application for me. I wish I would. And people can get mad
I
at me.
will gladly take 25K to help somebody
You
fill
can
out
get
an
mad at me
application.
all you want. I wish I would give somebody $25,000 for getting me $250,000 that apparently I should not have because
In
I
the
could have
first
done
place.
it on my own.
Yeah.
I wish I would give somebody that. But again, we do it all day long. And then the sad part is a lot of times the people who are doing this don't have businesses that they can pay that they can't. Damn the 250, you can't even pay the $25,000 back. Your business isn't even making the profit to pay the $25,000 that you gave this person to get you this money that you're basically living off of because your business isn't making any money. So once that runs out, now you have a $250,000 bill with interest, and your business still isn't making any money.
Wow.
And people can say it's hate, and people can say you know what you're talking about. Isaac, we see it all day long. We see it all day long. Because if that's not the truth, Isaac, why are all these businesses and everything shutting down? You're
True.
out here getting the loans, you're out here getting money, right? So you should be good. Why are you all shutting down? It's like all these people who got all the PPP money. How on earth did y'all get all this PPP money and now y'all claim you're broke? Because you were living off of that money. You did not have a business that was making any money. And again, I'm not here to knock businesses because again, Plenty of businesses fail. Plenty of businesses are out here right now that are not profitable. But the problem is, we believe that if somebody gets me all this credit, if somebody gets me all this money, automatically my business is going to be successful. And again, I'm going to go back to Dave Ramsey. It's about cash flow. It's not about money that you have, it's about the cash flow in your business. Love him or hate him, he's telling the truth. If I have a business that is not cash flowing, if I have a business that every year I go and do my taxes and show that business doesn't make any money, that business is eventually going to shut down. It's eventually going to shut down because I'm living off of loans. I'm living off of credit cards. The business is eventually going to have to shut down. Or I'm just going to keep on getting loans. I'm just going to keep on putting more and more and more money into a business that doesn't make any money. So now I'm just making more money. I'm just owing more money. And then that's where the tragedy comes in. Because what do they tell you to do in that situation?
File bankruptcy.
There it is. And we think those people are heroes and they do Sesame Street rhymes looking like a damn idiot, but everybody thinks it's cool and funny because that's a boss, that's a hero. We're hated. We want to be like her. We want to be like people like that because we think that's success. And then they say, Donald Trump does it. You know what you're talking about. No, I know the difference between a chapter 11 and a chapter 7. Let's start there. I know the difference between certain types of bankruptcies. And if you don't believe me, why are they all getting dismissed when they're all filing chapter 11? Because you can't pay the loans back. When you file a chapter 11, it's to reposition your debt. But you're saying I can pay it, but I just need everybody to back up so I can reposition my debt. But when they look and you say I only make $15,000 a month, you can't pay nothing back. So that's how it gets dismissed.
Wow.
Because you don't make enough profit to pay anybody back. But you tell everybody to go file bankruptcy. But when you file chapter 7, what happens? They liquidate you, which is what is happening to
some folks out here that we don't want to call names. Yes.
Because of the liquor. That's why they're liquidating your stuff. That's why they're liquidating your stuff, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And again, people can get mad. People can say, you don't know what you're talking about. Cool. Let's watch the videos. Let's watch the articles. Everything we're saying is true.
Man, Eric,
the things that we're trying to help people avoid and not get into, they say you don't know what you're talking about because that person's rich. I'll say it right here in front of you. I make well over $15,000 a month. So no, if you're really and truly saying that's what you make, no, I don't need to envy you. I don't need to envy you. But those are the people who we listen to and believe are the people who are rich, who are famous, and are bosses and stuff like that. And Isaac, you don't even file tax returns. Why'd her bankruptcy get kicked out? Tell him, Isaac. Tell him.
You the expert.
Besides writing it in blue pen and not paying the fees to file. Besides writing in blue pen and not filing the fees, the bankruptcy fee, not turning that in when you filed it. Okay. Then they said you got to file your last 3 years of returns.
Oh, you didn't file those?
Yeah. But you got all these people telling you that wealthy people don't file taxes because they know all these tricks and loops and all this stuff to not pay taxes. No, the loop is they don't file taxes. Again, I always love plugging them. If you watch Bankruptcy Breakdown, Pocket Watch with JT, 10 o'clock every Saturday, 10 o'clock Central. What did I tell you? If you watch it, when he goes through the bankruptcy, what is one guaranteed debt that every last person he's done the bankruptcy breakdown for? What is one guaranteed debt? Back taxes.
Back taxes.
But all these people are teaching courses telling you, a regular person, how you can bring all your stuff down so you don't got to pay taxes, like all these wealthy people. But every last episode I've watched, even the Suge Knight one on Saturday, he owes back taxes to the state of California and in federal. If you don't believe me, go watch the video. Every
Wow.
last one of them owes back taxes. The one from Slutty Vegan, she owes all this money to the Georgia State Revenue because she's not paying sales tax, because she's not paying her state taxes. That's what that is, right? If you owe money to the Department of Revenue in Georgia, it's because you're not paying sales tax. It's because you're not paying your state taxes. But all your people are showing you, are teaching courses on how to not pay any taxes at all, period. If we would just take the time to really and truly think about it and really and truly watch what's going on around us, instead of saying they're out to get this person, they just want to bring this person down. You're not filing your taxes. How are they trying to bring you down? I know we joke about it. I didn't make that up, Isaac. She wrote it in blue pen. and didn't do the, even when I have clients who do offer and compromises to try to bring their taxes down, there's a fee you have to pay. There's an application fee, correct?
Yeah.
You're going to file bankruptcy and not turn in the fees?
It's like, filling out an application for this and not put the money up for the house or the apartment. You know what I'm saying? Like, really?
Really?
I'm gonna throw this on now. You know what I'm saying? You didn't put your earnest money up or whatever the case may be.
Correct.
You didn't pay for the service. You didn't pay for it.
We're out here defending it. We're out here saying it. So that's how come you see, usually I don't even speak on it because I'm a hater. I don't know what I'm talking about. But then when it happens, like people like me say, when it happens, then it's why are you trying to bring us down? I didn't bring nobody down. I didn't bring anybody down. I'm reading the article just like you are. I didn't tell that person not to file their taxes. I didn't tell that person not to turn their sales tax in. I didn't tell them not to do that. I'm not bringing them down. But I know as a business owner, I got to file taxes. I know as a business owner, I got to file my 941s every quarter. As a business owner, I know I got to do that. But you believe you don't have to? I know for a fact that if I have employees and I'm taking taxes out of their checks, I got to turn in 941s every quarter, sending in their half of their self-employment tax, self-employment tax in the part that my business has to pay. I know I'm supposed to do that, right? So at the end of the year, when they come to get their W-2 from me, I can't turn to them and say, "Hey, I didn't turn your taxes in. So I'm gonna have to give you some 1099s, and y'all need to figure it out."
Which I heard people have done.
We have seen happen.
Dude,
all you want.
How the employee end up being contract.
That's all you want, but that is what is happening out here.
Yeah,
you taking taxes out of my check every week, every 2 weeks, every time I get paid. I'm looking at you taking taxes out. Then at the end of the year, when I come to you to get my W-2, you hand me a 1099?
Make it make sense.
Flossing and stuff. And I'm talking about local people here.
Yeah.
But you out here flossing like you are a business owner, like you really killing it. And again, the sad part is always those are the people who are suffering. Because again, you did that. Now my taxes are jacked up because now I'm fighting to try to get a W-2 from you, so I can file my return. Because if I don't turn in a W-2, I can't show my self-employment tax. I can't show my. If I turn in a 1099, now I'm responsible for that, even though I've already paid for it. And as the business owner, you're supposed to pay for the other half of the Social Security. But I'm watching you top around, tell me how great your business is and how you flossing and stuff like that. But then when people point it out and sue you, like some of these places are being sued because they're not paying employees. Everybody says you're hating. Imagine that, Isaac, that I work somewhere and it's time to get paid and they say we can't pay you. But I'm watching you, I won't say Sesame Street videos anymore. I'm watching YouTube videos prancing around like a boss, telling everybody how you killing it, but everybody working for me is saying they're not getting paid. The landlord at where my place is saying they're not collecting rent from you. So now this guy can't pay his bills, right? I'm a
Right.
landlord, right? I got a mortgage on my property, but you're not paying rent. And you believe, it's funny, and I know of what I speak because again, I got the letter last week where the bankruptcy went through. And they were like, hey, it's been your debt, your debt has been erased. Not my personal debt, the debt that person owed me. Because remember, I didn't even fight it. I didn't fight it. I got the letter said, hey, this person's filing bankruptcy. They're going to put this on their thing. You got to dispute or whatever. I was like, whatever. And I got the letter last week saying, hey, the bankruptcy went through. So he doesn't owe you this debt anymore. But everybody's celebrating people filing bankruptcy. They think that's cool.
I need my money.
But what
Eric.
about
I
my
ain't
business?
gonna
Yeah,
lie.
what about my business? So now that's money I'm not going to get, even though I provided a service. But you all think it's cool for them to file bankruptcy. It's the short-sightedness of it. Again, I'm not here to knock anybody who really has financial struggles and stuff like that. Things happen when you can file bankruptcy, but I'll be damned if I'm gonna watch you dance around and try to be cute with it, try to act like it's funny that these people aren't going to get paid because you filed bankruptcy. If you file bankruptcy, be humble about it. Be humble about it. And I know it
Damn.
hurts people's feelings to hear people say stuff like that. But again, if you really and truly think, I said all the time, it's almost like me and one of my investment partners were talking today. We were talking about that. Do you think it's cool that we lost our money investing in that? When people walk around saying we don't help each other out, we don't invest in each other, we don't believe in each other. So I believed in you. We gave you $20,000. We believed in you. So each one of us gave you like $10,000, $20,000. We believed in you. And then people say, well, you're the fool for giving them the money. You're correct. So then when somebody comes and tries to talk to me and I say, no, I'm good. Then it's like, oh yeah, you don't want to help nobody out. Nope. I sure don't.
Man.
I sure don't. Because as soon as I ask for my money back, you're going to threaten to file bankruptcy. You're going to threaten to
Wow.
file personal bankruptcy.
That's
You're going
not
to file
good.
bankruptcy.
That
Isaac,
is not good.
Isaac, isn't that what they're doing?
That's what they're doing.
That's what they're
But
doing.
that's what they're doing. I'll be afraid to invest or do anything
Do anything.
because of that.
Yep. I tell people all the time, my money was sitting in the money market, minding its business. It was sitting in that money market account, minding its business. Getting no K1s, getting no financial reports, nothing.
Wow.
And so it's
Wow,
like when
Eric.
you see the people like, I don't want to say Jay Morrison, I don't want to say people like that, but when you see them, when people say, hey, I lost money doing this and stuff, and then they sit there and try to make it seem like it's because y'all are lying on me. It's because y'all are making me out to be something that I'm not. And you time and time and time again keep doing it, and you somehow are able to convince people to believe in you and to give you money. And then when it falls apart, then you just look around and say it fell apart because of all of you. How did it fall apart? Because of someone like me? Because I'm saying I know it ain't gonna work. What are you talking about? So again, I didn't mean to get on that, but no, I
We
mean,
appreciate it, Eric.
because at the end of the day, it's a very serious conversation that we really and
For
truly
sure.
need to have. Because
Yeah.
again, sadly, it's usually the people who can't afford it,
Hmm.
the people who really and truly can't afford to be audited, who can't afford to have to pay this stuff back, who are really and truly trying to do something. And then these are stumbling blocks from you starting that business, buying a house, doing things like that. And then
Mm.
the people doing it, they just don't care. They got their money and they keep it moving.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, I can't speak for anybody. I can't. But it makes absolutely no sense to me to go and pay somebody 25, $50,000 or whatever to get me money that apparently I don't deserve. Because I get emails, texts all day long from places trying to lend me money, give me lines of credit.
Yeah. Get that too.
Yep. And to me, the interest rates are crazy. So we're just talking about the interest rates. The interest
Yeah.
rates are crazy. So
Yeah.
imagine having to pay a fee in order for the opportunity to give you all this interest, to give you all this interest.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I had to pay somebody all this money to help me get it. It
Look,
doesn't make any sense.
it doesn't, man. Look, this
A-
is
a-
this is one of those
oh,
conversations, Eric. Like we gotta have more of these conversations, more honest conversations, like
more honest conversations about it.
about this because I think yeah, we're just not going in the right direction where we need to be going. And I
We're
know
not.
we're at time, but I know we can't keep this conversation where the cost it will cost you longer, in the long run. It will
In
cost
the
you
long
more in
run,
the
it's
long
gonna
run.
cost you way more than
Yeah,
it's instant gratification of somebody helped you get this money, somebody helped you clean up your credit, all kinds of things like that. The instant gratification of somebody doing that. Again, if you watch the videos like with the people at the dealerships where they're like, "I see where you're disputing all this stuff," and they're telling them like it's gonna come back, but you're paying all these people to dispute all this stuff on your credit, and it's like, "But it's coming back. It's coming
yeah,
back."
yeah,
But again, you watch all these people say stupidness like,
yeah.
uh, "This is illegal, this is illegal, this is illegal, this is illegal." No, it isn't. It's not illegal. It's not. Down payments are not illegal. They're not. They're not. You can do any video you want trying to tell people that they can't make you do a down payment
It
when you
is
go to your car.
illegal, Eric. It
Yeah,
it
okay.
is illegal.
Mm.
It's illegal when you got an 800 plus credit score.
Then you wouldn't have and there's the rub. You wouldn't have to.
When you got an 800 credit score, it's illegal. I'm not putting nothing down. You know what I'm saying?
You wouldn't
I'm
have to
just
take a
saying.
down payment. You're correct. You
You
wouldn't have
know,
to. Yeah, there'd be no
they
argument.
ask. I'll be like, for what?
No. No, they
You
don't ask.
didn't. You didn't. Is it a requirement?
Yeah, they don't
No.
ask. Like I said, they run your credit. They're like, "You're good."
Yeah.
You
I'm
run
like,
their
they like, do you
you're
want
good.
to? I'm
Yeah.
like, no. Go ahead,
They're
bro.
like, "You're good. No, you don't gotta give us any money.
Yeah,
We're good."
yeah. So,
Because you've shown your history that you pay bills, that you pay your bills
right.
back. And again, people can get mad at that all you want, but again, you've shown that you pay your bills, so we can trust that you can drive this car off the lot, and we don't gotta go try to find it. We don't gotta go try to
Right,
repossess
right.
it because you
You're
pay
gonna
your bills.
put that tracker on there, that
Yeah.
kill switch.
Put the kill switch on it because you have a history of again, I'm not knocking people who have bad credit, please. But again, if that's your history, that's your history.
Right,
Again, I'm
right.
not trying to say it in a funny manner. If that's your history, that's your history.
Yeah,
So, so you got to build that history back up. You got to build that trust back up. So if you've got to pay more in interest or you got to make a down payment till you build your credit back up to show you're credit worthy, you got to do that. You can't walk in there with a 480 credit score and say, I'm not putting any money down on this car.
what
It
happened?
ain't happening.
It ain't
Again,
happening.
like John O'Brien said, I wouldn't loan you money. So he said, I wouldn't loan you money. So why you think the dealership's gonna loan you money? He said, I'm rich and I wouldn't loan you money. If you come in here with a 550 credit score, I'm not going to loan you money. Look up the video. Look up the
Yeah,
video.
wow.
He said, I
That's
wouldn't
wow.
loan you money.
Oh man, that's good,
But you're
man.
going to
That's
take a
good.
seat at a dealership with a 5-something credit score and say, I want this car and I refuse to make a down payment. And then you start spewing out all these dumbass laws that you watching on social media, trying to tell you that it's against the law for them to, charge a down payment.
Yeah, it's
Here's the
wild,
rub
man.
though. They don't got to sell you the car. That's the crazy part. They don't got to sell you the car.
Nope.
You can sit there and act all crazy you want to. Okay, so all right, see you later. What do you mean see you later? I don't have to sell you this car. What are you talking about? I don't got to sell you this car.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to make a down payment, cool.
That's good, Eric. I know we're at our time. You have any closing thoughts, closing words for us?
No. So again, like I said, we always go left whenever we talk. Again, I keep on telling you when we start, before we come on, I always tell you I'm gonna try to be good, but I just get so frustrated. And again, the reason why I'm so frustrated, I see it on a day-to-day basis. I see how this affects people. I see people who lose out on getting a home, who do something and it destroys their credit, who have to pay these things back, who do this and then they're in this huge debt of having to pay these type of things back. Again, I told you I've invested in something and lost money. I told you I'm a business owner and somebody owed me money and filed bankruptcy to not pay me. So again, I'm not just talking, I'm actually out here living and dealing with the very things that we talk about. So again, I'm not trying to be funny, Isaac, but I don't think it's cute. I don't. I don't think it's cute when I see somebody steadily filing bankruptcy to try to avoid paying people and everybody thinks it's a flex and everybody thinks it's funny. If you're a business owner where people owe you money, Isaac, I sit here all the time with people who own rental property and talk about having to evict people, talk about how much money they had to pay to evict people and how they're having to pay the mortgage, they're having to pay the property tax, they're having to pay the insurance, but somebody's staying in their house not paying rent. So who has to pay that mortgage? Do you think they think it's funny that people squatting in their place? You think they think that's funny? But we're out here making videos and joking and laughing about it. It's not funny. It's not funny if you are a real true business owner. If you're having to deal with that, you don't think it's funny. You don't. You think it's damn stupid. But people who think it's funny and applaud it and all that, okay, again, like I said, it's not you. It's not you. If you actually own a rental property and somebody tore your rental property up or didn't pay the rent and stuff like that, you wouldn't think it's funny.
No.
If you had to go there to try to evict them, have to go to court to try to evict them, to get them out so you can try to get somebody in there who can pay, you wouldn't think it's funny at all. If you invested in somebody, I'm not going to name her, but when you see all these people who invested in that company and now you're seeing what she did with that money, you wouldn't think that's funny. You would not find humor in it. You would not find humor in it. Oh, who's he asking? Slutty vegan, Uncle Nearest. Enjoy your night, Cedric. Sit up all night watching YouTubes on him. But you would not think it's funny. See? You would not think it's funny.
Yeah.
So when people like me, again, I'm not just talking about me personally. I'm actually watching clients who come in here. I've actually had clients who've had to actually sell properties because they can't afford to keep the property. They can't afford to keep the property because people are staying in there not paying.
Sad, man. That's really
I,
sad.
I can pull up the text. If y'all keep messing with me, I'll just file personal bankruptcy. Because we want you to show us the financials. I just want you to show me the financials. I'll file personal bankruptcy. But then when somebody says, nah, dude, I'm not investing with you. I'm somehow wrong. If I say no, I'm good. I'm gonna leave my money where it is. I'm good. If I got to deal with that, we don't think about that when people say, "Man, we don't come together. We don't invest together. We don't do things like that." If you go talk to people who can tell you some horror stories, you'd have a whole different perspective. Again, like I said, when I'm watching somebody do that with the bankruptcy and I'm getting letters from lawyers telling me that my client is filing bankruptcy, so I'm not going to get my, again, we're not talking millions of dollars. We're not, but it was more than a couple of hundred. It was almost five zeros. I'll put it like that. So what's my business supposed to do now? Just write it off as bad debt? Like people say, just write it off as bad debt.
Yeah.
Okay.
He said, okay.
I mean, that's what people say, right? Just write off as
I
bad debt.
know, but it's like, no, that's not okay. No, it's not okay.
But it's supposed to be okay. It's supposed to be okay.
No, it's not okay.
Because that person has the right to file bankruptcy, and they do. But again,
Wow.
I'd have a
That's crazy.
problem if I saw you running around here flossing, going on vacation, going on cruises, and doing all that stuff with my money, and saying you can't pay me back. I'd have a problem with that, and anybody else would. You can lie all
Yeah,
you want. Anybody else would.
you know when somebody owes you money and all of a sudden they needed it really bad because it's an emergency and it was life or death and all that, and
I
then
got
I
you
see,
$20. I got you
and then I see you at Gloria's, you over here at Gloria's, over here eating good, at the Domain,
or on Facebook posting
posting
on
the
cruises.
meals, and they got the, what I'm saying, stuff like that. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Anyway,
Like this is how we doing. Also, I see
how
you
we
on the
do.
cruise or something. You don't went on
That's
the
how we do.
cruise, like a little trip around Galveston, hit Galveston down there, and I'm like, okay, you
That's
got
how we do.
gas money, you
Correct.
got hotel money, but you don't got my money,
So
right?
you see all these videos, all these TikToks of you out here living and stuff like that, but people who know you, who you owe money to, are just staring at you.
Yeah.
And okay, everybody think you killing it, but they're looking at
Real.
you, shaking their head. Again, like
I
I
know,
said,
really.
and then when you threaten them, I'll show you the text. Keep messing with me, I'll file personal bankruptcy. Okay.
Threatening people, man. This has been good, Eric. This has been good. I know we went with over time. I know next
Right.
week we're gonna be a
Yeah.
little bit different. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. I got on right before today. I was so busy. We've decided I'm not doing next Tuesday. There was a lot of appointments I could have done tonight. It is absolutely crazy right now. We're doing like 15, 20 appointments a day. So next week I'm not gonna do this on the 14th. We're gonna not do anything. If you want to do something on Thursday,
We probably do this on Thursday.
yeah,
Yeah.
what? We'll just do it on Thursday next week, but I'm gonna not do it on Tuesday. I already have a bunch of appointments next Tuesday. Again, I try to block it off from 5 o'clock to kind of get a little rest and everything before we get on here. But I think I'm just gonna take. We've already said I'm gonna take appointments all day Tuesday to wrap it up because Wednesday is the 15th. So if you want to do something on Thursday, that's fine. Because again, like I said, I pretty much try to take the day after off to try to just
Okay.
decompress and stuff like that. But it has been absolutely crazy, which is a good thing. It's a great thing, that business is doing what it's doing and having all these clients and stuff like that. And again, I appreciate everybody who's referring everybody to me. The videos and stuff are doing great. We're getting it's going to be busy all year long. We're already getting financial coaching clients. We're already getting consultations. People are already asking when we're gonna, as much as we laugh and talk about courses, people are asking, do we do courses? So again, the courses are going to start June 11th. Like I said, I'm going on vacation. I'm going to a family reunion. I'm doing some stuff, and so we will be back and rested and everything like that on June 11th to start that. We're going to start advertising that. We're going to start giving people the ability to sign up for the courses. People keep asking. We were going to do it around February, March of this year, but it was already getting so busy for tax season. It was like, there's no way I'll be able to take Thursdays off to prepare to do the courses and stuff like that. But usually it's slow in June and July till like the middle of August when it starts picking back up for when there's things with extensions and stuff like that. So we will definitely be able to do the courses from June till July. I'm gonna try not to go anywhere in June and July after I get back, like I said, from the family reunion. But so I'm really excited about that. Again, you just know by the way we're talking, I'm not gonna be teaching people any scam nonsense or anything like that. We're really teaching people how to budget, how to understand their taxes, how to understand their budget, how to understand all types of stuff like that. So yeah, Cedric, I know you. How you doing, Marcia? You saw Cedric as usual late, but so yeah, so I'm really excited about the way this is going this year. Um, Again, I appreciate everybody watching the video, sharing the videos, commenting, things like that. It's funny to me because you guys have been begging me to do videos and stuff like that. I've always said, I really don't want to do them because nobody wants to hear what I got to say and stuff like that. But people come in here all the time and say they're watching the videos. They're sending people, like I said today, I did a couple of consultations on people who said they've been watching the videos and stuff like that. And not here just in Texas. I have clients in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, people calling from all over to do that. So I really appreciate everybody who's calling to set up appointments and stuff like that. So I'm really looking forward to the courses and things like that. But I got to take a break Tuesday. I was so tired. I know it doesn't look it, but I've been up like 5 this morning. I have not had a break all day. I've had appointments
All
all
right.
day today.
You need to go
So,
eat, sir. You need to
yeah,
go eat.
I
I
haven't
know
even
you probably ate all day. Then go ahead and eat.
so I don't want to do that to myself next Tuesday. So again, we're not going to do Tuesday. We'll probably talk during the week. I probably will be good to do Thursday. So we'll probably do Thursday next week.
Okay.
I am excited
All
about
right.
still doing this every week. But again, I appreciate everybody coming out, everybody watching the videos, and staying staying engaged. So
Awesome.
that's all I have.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.